Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Shahrzad Nooravi. I'm a business psychologist and I spend most of my days in conversations with leaders. And one of the things I hear on a regular basis is how much stress people are facing. They talk about a lack of work-life balance, not enough personal time, and constant stress. If you'd like to live a life that is more peaceful and joyful, where you feel like you are in control and you're doing the things that you want to do, you're reacting in the ways that you want to react, the Build series is for you. I created the Build series in 2020. We were in the middle of a pandemic. We had no idea when it would end. There was so much stress. There was so much change for everyone. It was so sad what was happening around the world with millions of people dying, and we had a whole new way of working. I created the Build series as an opportunity to take a look at who we were, how we were reacting to life around us, and who we wanted to be, and how we could live a life with less stress, more joy, more ease, and a feeling of control over our lives, where we're thriving. This model continues to be as important as ever, with continual challenges with work-life balance and a hybrid workplace. Add to it the cycle of life and the great things that happen in life and the predictable things that happen in life and the challenging, unexpected things that happen in life. The question is, how can we learn to be present, to enjoy the good times and manage the bad times in a more peaceful way, in a more grounded way? On the list of life's stressors, you would be surprised to find that some of the things that are typically joyful are also very stressful, like buying a house, getting married, having a child, starting a new job, getting that promotion that you were trying so hard to get, starting that business that you dreamed of. Every new step we take, every new beautiful dream that comes true, comes with it new stressors. And later in life, think about when your children are leaving the house, when you are thinking about retirement, and then get this, children are re-entering the house. That's a new thing, and it's a great thing if it's managed well. The Build series that I created has 5 steps to it. B is be mindful with yourself and others. U is understand that change is constant. I is innovate at work and at home. L is live in harmony with your higher self. And D is determine who you want to be. Let's kick it off with be mindful with yourself and others. There's 3 things I want you to know about this. Learn about mindfulness, recognize your triggers, and be mindful with others. Mindfulness is the ability to be present, to find calm and centeredness in the present moment. And when we are under stress, we are in one of 2 places, and it's not the present. We're stuck in the past, worried about what has happened in the past and having anxiety around it, or we're anxious, stuck in the future, thinking, what will happen? What will happen? It's not going to work out. And the question is, what things can we do to create a sense of calm for ourselves, that regardless of the storms that come in and out of our lives, we stay deeply rooted? I always use metaphors of trees, and you'll see more about that in future video series. Think about when there's a huge storm and you see the videos of that city and you see the trees swaying back and forth, and some of them get uprooted. The storm was so strong it uprooted them. And some of them don't get uprooted. They are still standing and swaying. And how can we be like that tree that's deeply rooted, that's hanging on, that's not getting uprooted and tossed about? I started my journey learning about mindfulness some years ago, and I committed to 30 days of listening to 10 minutes of guided meditation a day. And I stuck with it, whether I was at home, whether I was in the car before I was going to see a client or a colleague, and it was okay. It wasn't until a few months later, when I was going through a really difficult time, that a friend of mine said, read Finding Clarity. And he said, you will grow so much from this experience. And I didn't know what he was talking about. All I knew that I was in a lot of pain, seeing a loved one have pain. And I read the book, and for the first time I understood what is it that our brain is doing when we're stuck in the past, when we're stuck in the future, and we're not here, right now. And I really needed to understand the way our brain works. I needed to understand the theory. And that was the greatest thing, because after that, and after going on retreats, reading different books, I learned what it is to be present. And when I knew that it worked was a time when I was still in that very difficult situation, yet I was able to have joy. I was able to create joy among my family members. And that's when I knew I was doing the work. Now, some of you may ask, okay, so does that mean I start meditating or doing yoga? And many of you have shared that you don't really like that, and that's totally okay. In fact, there's so many ways to get centered that you may already be doing or are interested in, and I personally do a lot of these things. So they include walking meditation, they include looking at nature up close, reading, doing an activity you love, spending time with your family or your pet, your children. There's a lot of ways to free up your mind and just feel calmer, or if you're really anxious and angry, get it out. And I think a really simple one is walking and not talking on the phone, not listening to any podcasts, not listening to the news, not listening to music. Just being one with the path ahead. If you'd like to learn more about mindfulness and what I'd recommend for reading about it, please go on strategymeetsperformance.com and you'll see book recommendations. And I have several books that I think everyone will enjoy. So the first tip was to learn about mindfulness. The second tip is to learn about your triggers. And this is some deep work, and certainly the books that you'll see that I've recommended will help you look at those. And the question is, when you get really angry, ask yourself, what is it that is bringing up this emotion? And it could be that a boundary has been violated, and anger is our body's way of telling us that, which is great. The question is how to show up after you feel that anger. Anger is a signal. It tells us there's something wrong. It's a red flag, and that's great. The question is, what do you do once you have felt the anger? How do you decide you want to behave? And the more clear you become with your triggers, the easier it will be to respond each time you get triggered. The third way to be more mindful is to do it with your family, friends, and colleagues. For example, when you go home to your children, and that might be leaving your office in some part of the house, or it might be physically driving home, take a moment and collect yourself before you go out and spend time with others. Take some deep breaths, listen to music, create a space, a buffer between work just ending and the next part of your day or evening. Imagine if you are working at home and your children or your spouse come into the room, and we've seen it enough over the course of the last several years that it shouldn't be surprising. I've gotten to a point when my 4-year-old nephew just barges right in, and he'll bring his 2-year-old sister, that I don't worry about it. I just say, oh, excuse me. And if it's at the end of a call, at the end of a Zoom, I will let them look into the camera and just say, I'll be back with you shortly. And it's really important to have that mindfulness with our family, especially with children, because we are showing them how to be. And we are creating a legacy, we are creating behaviors that they too will follow when they see that we're really calm. When it comes to your colleagues, when it comes to your clients, assume positive intent, ask curiosity questions, and ask people how they're doing. One of the things we all did a lot more of during the pandemic, when we were online, we were virtual, is we had a lot more check-ins, and clients were mentioning that to me this past week as they were setting up their strategy and what they wanted to do for the rest of the year. And several of them said, I want to create more of a human connection with everyone and go back to some of those things we were doing during the pandemic, which is checking in and asking people how they're doing and really getting a sense for the group's dynamic together, and especially helping new people get to know the others. So the B of build was be mindful with yourself and others. And it included learning about mindfulness, learning about your triggers, and working on being mindful with others. Here's to you learning more about mindfulness and finding peace and joy with yourself and others. Here's to your wisdom, power, resilience, and grace. Thank you.